Previously on District of Dreams. Well, I had hoped that Rowan coming back from his grave robbing, estate sale would calm things down. I really should have known better. Georgie and Sigrun had nightmares, and it was that morning that we learned that stories were disappearing. Well, very specific stories. Stories of King Arthur and the Round Table. Didn't matter if they were on the nose, like Tennyson or Wagner, or vague references like Eliot. All we and all anyone was left with were almost blank books, ours starting with the words, "Once upon a time." Rowan baked some cookies, of all things, to figure out what it meant, and reckoned that something wanted us to write our own stories in the books. Georgie and Elodie tested it out with some snow and a foam sword. They got some hints, but, well, we've got a missing she to find, don't we? So Sigrun whipped up a wisp for us to follow, and it led us all to Rock Creek Park on the north end of town, and to a tree several of us had seen in our dreams. You know, wild portals are dangerous because you never know where they'll go or whether you can even get back. But the wisp said our quarry was that way, so that way we went. Yeah, I don't think it's a great idea either, so shut up.
Hello, I'm Bookkeeper, and I'm playing Sir Crook, the Red-Cap Wilder. Our pronouns are he, him.
Hi, I'm Hannah Marie. I am playing Elodie Blight, the Cluricon Childling. Her pronouns are she, her. My pronouns are she, they.
I'm Clara Allison, and I play Georgina Byrne, a Selkie Wilder. My pronouns are she, they, and her pronouns are she, her.
Hello, I'm Rob Davies. I will be playing Rowan Parsons, a Boggin Grump. Both our pronouns are he, him.
Hello, my name is Madam Ava. I'm playing Sigrun Spellman. She is a Slua Grump, and we both use she, her pronouns.
And I'm Bloodied Porcelain. I'll be your storyteller for the evening, and I use she, her pronouns. When last we left off, our motley had followed a orb of light summoned up by Sigrun to try and track the missing noblewoman. You all followed it, having to walk across most of DC and up into a park where you found this strange otherworldly portal tucked under the branches of a willow tree that you're sure wasn't there, or at least Crook, who has been here a few times, was sure wasn't originally a part of the park. Sigrun, having seen this portal in her memories, told everyone that this is what she saw, and you all stepped through. As you step out onto the other side of the portal, you find yourself in a landscape that is somehow both familiar and alien. As you look around you, it feels and looks like the park that you just left. There are trees here. You see a stream that has always been a part of the park, kind of off in the distance. But it is also so much more. To all of you, the colors are more vibrant. The trees are larger and older. The grass comes up higher, close to like your mid-calf to knee area. Everything is kind of a little bit overgrown. There are paths, but anytime you look away from one path to look in another direction, when you look back, it's like the path has changed slightly. In the distance, you can hear what sounds like faint whispering coming from the tree lines around you. and a glance up at the sky shows you that it is somehow both the middle of the day and the middle of the night at the same time. You're not sure how it's possible, but you can see the sun and you can also see stars. And you are pretty sure that you are looking at stars and constellations that you don't recognize. The last person through the portal was Sigrun, and as Sigrun turns to look over her shoulder at the portal, it shimmers and flickers, and then it vanishes. Georgie, as you look around you in the distance, the trees seem to kind of flicker and fade away for a moment, and the rolling grass that was sprouting up between the trees gives way to an ocean, where you see a kind of ghostly castle up on a cliff in like the far, far distance. Like you can see the outline of it. And then you blink and it's gone and it's the trees again. Rowan settled in between in between some of the tree lines off to your left. You see what looks like the ruins of a stronghold, with banners that are still hanging over the ramparts. They are tattered and old, but there is a part of them that feels kind of familiar, like you may have maybe written a short story that had a stronghold like this, but you don't remember it anymore. And when you kind of take a step closer to try and get a decent look, it shifts and flickers and disappears. I would like, we're going to go down the list, but I would like everyone to describe what the rest of the Motley sees, because in your day-to-day life, you see each other in both your mortal seeming and fairy Mian forms. So it's a little bit like looking at a normal person with like a hologram that's kind of been overlaid on them, so you could still see who they are as a human, with like this overlay that is their fairy Mian. But here, as you guys look at each other, you realize that the mortal part of who you are is gone. Everybody looks the way that holograph overlay always looks, except that it looks solid and real. And even Crook's, what usually looks like a walking stick to everybody else, like a cane, looks like the maul that he usually carries. So, Crook, would you be so kind as to describe yourself?
Sure. He is presently sort of swinging his morning star kind of casually, trying to keep the spiked parts of it away from his motley. But if anything, his face is craggier than usual. He's always looked like he's like in his 20s going on 60, just sort of a weathered expression. But now his face is deeply lined and grayish, even as his sort of fanged mouth splits that face open practically from ear to ear. Basically the bastard child of Dobby the Elf and a great white shark. But the other thing that sort of sticks out as his fairy Mian becomes more pronounced is his top hat, where you can see the wreath of thorns wrapped around the hat is glistening, and the whole hat seems mildly damp, like it's just about to drip from the amount of blood that has coated it.
Excellent. Elodie.
So upon first glance, Elodie wouldn't look too different, but it's very obvious after a moment longer that there is some reasonably significant changes. First of all, the most obvious is that her ears are pointed and a lot longer in a very elvish kind of manner, except what really sticks out as her Cluricon nature comes to the forefront is that it almost seems to sharpen a lot of her features. Her nose is a little more upturned, and there's a little more of a curve to her smile and more of a glint to her eyes as you couldn't look at her and not think, oh, she is absolutely up to no possible good. Everything about her just seems a little sharper and a little bigger. Her hair a little redder, her freckles a little deeper. The little tiny gap between her teeth just a little more pronounced, especially as she grins a little wider here than she may have back in the mortal world. But yeah, she looks like the kind of person you kind of got to watch your back around a little bit.
Perpetually up to something. Georgie.
Much like Elodie, Georgie doesn't have a dramatic change the way others might. The biggest difference is that everything about her has been just sort of turned up almost cartoonishly. Her eyes are now almost fully iris and pupil, and you can't quite see the whites in the same way. Just big, watery steel eyes. And she has what I can only describe as sort of a 2010s wet look from like a perfume ad. She looks as if she climbed out of the ocean or a pool and has not dried off before putting her clothes on. So her hair is still dripping, her skin is still wet, and where she stands, a little puddle of water is formed. And one of the biggest difference is in her coat, which during in the mortal world looks often like a leather jacket. Here is a straight up seal pelt draped around her shoulders.
Excellent. Rowan.
So I imagine that Rowan becomes a little bit more sort of almost halfling-ish. I wouldn't say changes size, of course, but his nose becomes a bit more bulbous. His the laugh lines around his eyes deepen, and the emerald of his eyes intensifies. His fingers would lengthen ever so slightly and become just a little bit more calloused. Probably the most dramatic change would be his eyebrows. They become bushier, literally. The hair on his eyebrows has turned from white to a shaggy moss to match the patches of moss that have already formed on the backs of his hands and around the tops of his head and wherever else he might have it. So, yeah, that's Rowan in the near dreaming.
Excellent. It's also worth noting that the tone of his skin probably seems a little bit more vibrantly green than usual.
Absolutely.
Sigrid.
Sigrid's appearance looks more dead. Her skin is a bit more sunken. Her eyes take on more of a tired appearance. Her hair seems to hang more limp. And if you look closely at it, it seems like not almost matted in nature, but in a way where it seems like there's just webbing and thread kind of just stitching it together, so it kind of just clings. Her body doesn't change size, but the proportions seem to be a lot different. Her arms seem a little bit longer. She looks more gangly. Her nails have grown out to be more spindly. And she seems to have more of an older appearance due to her more grump-like nature. Almost like something ghostly, like something trying to haunt you in the distance.
Love that. Okay. Well, you are now standing here. The orb of light that Sigrun summoned to guide you has begun to get fainter and fainter as the time on it begins to wear out.
We must continue forward. Not much time left.
Sigrid,
Yeah.
you look like a creepypasta.
Thank you.
Let's go.
Where are we going?
Following
Follow
the
them.
light.
I thought you weren't supposed to do that. Doesn't that kill you?
I
Let's go
will cuff
into the
I will
light.
cuff your ear. Move.
Okay.
As you all begin to follow the light, I would like everybody to make me let's make this a perception and alertness check. Crook, you're going to be at difficulty 7.
Okay.
Elodie and Georgie, you're going to be at difficulty 8. And Crook and Rowan and Sigrun, I know your names, I swear, are going to be at difficulty 9.
Will my detail-oriented specialty apply to this at all?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And what are we rolling? Perception and what else?
Alertness.
Alertness. Does my clairvoyant specialty
No.
help?
Oh no.
Seeing a lot of ones there, guys.
We're
one
not
success,
doing
one
very
success, one
good.
success.
What
I'm
do
at
you
a
expect
2
from
at
me?
difficulty 9. I don't know how this keeps happening to me.
No.
As you guys follow this light, we're gonna start with Sigrun because that's a botch.
Huzzah.
Sigrun, you find yourself completely distracted by the world around you to the point where even though it's your cantrip, you find yourself kind of constantly looking away from it, and you are kind of taken in by the play of shadows between trees around you, and you see at times like massive like spider webs that somehow make everything feel kind of homey and like you're meant to be here. And it isn't until somebody like realizes that you are beginning to lag behind a little bit and kind of gives you a tug or a push because you're at you're now at the front of the line because it's your spell, that you realize that you have kind of stopped and gotten distracted and your spell is wandering away from you. Crook, you are on high alert. Your head is kind of constantly on a swivel. The problem is that being on that high of alert in a place like this where the terrain seems to shift and change a little bit around you has kind of made you a little bit paranoid, which makes it hard for you to follow the light and watch everything around you. Elodie and Georgie, you find yourselves kind of a little bit out of it. You both feel a little bit like you might be a little bit high or drunk. Like you're like on a really good trip. Everything is really intense right now. The colors are really like vivid. Everything sounds somehow more real than it ever sounded in the autumn world, even though you know that that's like reality, or it should be. Georgie, you keep hearing the sounds of like waves crashing against like a beach and rock, even though there's nothing around you to make that kind of noise. Elodie, weirdly enough, you get the feeling like you might be walking into like gym for a competition. Like you've got that kind of amped, pumped up feeling.
Oh, I'm just buzzing.
While also feeling, kind of floaty, kind of a little out of it, kind of good. You guys are all able to see the orb of light, but it is definitely like distracting. Rowan, somehow, despite everything, because you are having a very similar problem to Sigrun, where it is very tempting to stop and stare at everything around you.
Mhm.
You are able to kind of keep an eye on the light, keep an eye on your motley so that they don't all get lost. Like, you're probably the main reason why Sigrun hasn't just wandered off the path yet. Because every time she gets close, you grab her arm and you pull her back. What you realize after a moment is that as you have walked, you're still in a forest, but it's like everything around you has begun to shift and change. Like the trees look different than they did 5 minutes ago. They are, it's like walking into an impossibly ancient forest where trees haven't been touched. It's like someone's literal, like, vivid dream of what a really, really ancient, magical forest looks like. And you kind of realize that you're not entirely sure where you are. You look down at your feet, and all of the stories that you have heard about the dreaming is that you don't step off of the path. And you realize that you guys aren't on a path, and you're not sure that you ever were.
Everyone, we stepped off a path. Perhaps we weren't on one to begin with. This is terrible. This is absolutely horrible. We're lost. We have no idea where we are. We'll never get out of here. And he sits and just like,
no, get up. We do not stop.
But we could get into even more danger. We have no idea where we are or where we're going.
We don't get anywhere if we stop, Rowan.
We are meant to be here. If we were not meant to be, well, that would be a different story now, would it? But we are called here. We were asked to be here. Remember our goal.
Rowan is nodding along as people speak to him. Yes, of course. I must put faith in your visions. You have not steered us wrong before. I am sorry. And he gets up and continues to follow along, looking for any sign or landmark or anything that might help as he goes.
As he gets up, Elodie is just gonna kind of tuck herself under his arm to give him like a side hug. She looks, it's like the storyteller said, she looks a little high, and she's like, Rowan, it's impossible to be lost because I see you and you see me, and that means we know where each other are.
Georgie has been doing that thing that people do when they're high, where she's clearly trying to hide a smile and failing miserably and looking at Elodie and giggling.
What are you laughing at? It's true.
No, you're right.
Why are you laughing?
Because you're laughing.
Everyone who stops moving gets shoved.
Oh, Mr. Bossy Pants. Well, why don't you shove me? You won't do it.
I shove Elodie.
I'm gonna shove him back.
I would like both of you to make me strength and brawl rolls, please.
Can I take my arm out from
Yeah,
over
you could do that. That's not hard.
Let's step away.
Standard difficulty?
Yep.
Or, no, you said for this one it's 7, right?
No. That's if you are using cantrips.
Roger that.
Because the standard difficulty for cantrips is 8 in the Autumn world, but it's 7 here. Just strength and brawl. We're not rolling for damage. You're not trying to hurt each other.
Ha 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 ha.
Oh dear. So Crook gives Elodie a little bit of a shove, not fully committing to it. He's not trying to hurt her. And Elodie, being as out of it as she is, doesn't seem to recognize her own strength and just full force shoves Crook. So that's 2 successes for Elodie. 2 successes for Crook and 5 successes for Elodie.
Goes sprawling backwards.
Mm-hmm.
His hat sort of rolls off. He catches it with his hand. He sits up,
Mr. Tough Guy. Not so tough now, Mr. Tough Guy.
puts it on his head, looks at Elodie, run.
And she squeaks and she starts running.
Please do not separate. We must stay together. It's the only way we'll get out of here safely.
Rowan, you say that, and it's a little late because Elodie is on her feet and has taken off.
I'm not built for running.
I'm not built for running. Hold on. We're gonna go down the list because there's a lot going on, and I want to give other people time to react.
You bet.
Sigrun, you've been very quiet. What are you doing as the shoving match and then Elodie sprinting off into the unknown forest happens?
I think she was just already starting to like walk on her own, thinking everyone was gonna just follow behind her.
Okay, but where are you going? Are you following the light still, or have you like peeled off the path?
Nope, still trying to follow that gosh dang light.
Which is getting fainter and fainter as time goes on. It is now like barely a pinprick.
Oh, stay with me, please.
Georgina, what are you doing?
I just rolled a dice to find out. Georgie, seeing Elodie start to run, starts to chase her as she is wont to do, and just Elodie and like sprints after her.
Excellent. Rowan, are you staying here because you're not made for running, or are you following Sigrun, who is going in the opposite direction of Elodie and Georgie?
I think as he feels incredibly helpless right now. So the best thing for him to do would be to follow Sigrun. And since she's already demonstrated that she's having difficulty focusing in the dream, he is going to assist her with doing that.
Okay. Cool. Elodie, I need Dex Athletics, followed by a Wits and Kenning, please. Oh, you don't have Kenning. So Dex Athletics is just a 6, and it's just going to be a straight Wits roll at difficulty 7, please. Okay. So that's three successes for your athletics roll. Now I need a Wits roll at difficulty 7.
Hey.
Good lord, 3
Nice.
successes, all 3 dice. Dang. All right. Georgina, I need your perception and alertness again. Same difficulty as before. Gonna see how well you can track where Elodie is going.
Oh no!
That's 0 successes. It's not a botch, but it's not. You didn't succeed at all. Cool.
Wow.
Now I also need Dex Athletics from you at difficulty 6.
Guys, this is going so well.
This is amazing. Crook, I am going to need. All right, so 3 successes. Not bad. So you're moving at a good clip. But you're not going in the right direction. This is beautiful. Crook.
I need everyone to remember I didn't start this. I finished it.
Crook.
Yeah?
You watch Elodie take off, and you watch Georgie take off after her. Are you following them, or are you following Rowan and Sigrun?
Everyone's going in different directions.
Kinda. Rowan and Sigrun are going in one direction. Elodie and Georgie are going in another direction. They haven't quite split up at the time that you can see them, unless you are following.
I am not pursuing anyone at first. I am going to bellow at Elodie and Georgina. Where the hell are you going?
I'm not answering. I'm running. He told me to run.
You said run.
Well, hold on. Georgina completely failed her awareness check. Georgina, you don't hear shit.
Hell yeah.
So you don't get an answer from either of them.
There's a momentary just guttural roar at the sky, and then he starts stalking off after the people who ran away. He does not run. He just pursues.
Okay. Then I'm going to need your perception and alertness again at the same difficulty as before, which I think was a 7.
Yep. I will go ahead and throw a point of willpower at this. 3 successes.
That's pretty good. Okay. So you pursue them, not moving at the same clip that they are. You're just walking. So they get away from you quick. But you hit a point where you're following them, where you've broken through several lines of trees, and you realize that at some point, you realize at one point in the middle of following that their paths diverge hard. One goes right, one goes left. And I will say, because Georgina is chimerically wet, you can tell which one is which. Elodie went right, Georgina went left.
Let me gently with a chainsaw.
This can only go well. Who are you going to follow?
No, I have to go find the child. I pursue Elodie.
Okay.
Oh no, I'm being hunted.
Then are you going to pick up the pace when you realize that they've split up even more, or are you continuing to walk?
I am continuing to walk. I am a movie monster. And children run themselves out.
Okay. I'm a boxer. I do so much cardio, it's crazy.
You're also sprinting.
We will see how all of that goes. For right now, we're gonna pop back over to Rowan and Sigrun, who are on their own and are kind of the most easily distracted right now out of all of you. I need both of you to roll me your base willpower at difficulty 6, please.
Sorry, so when you say base willpower, do you mean
your total willpower, not your current willpower?
Okay, so permanent willpower.
Yes, sorry.
Got it. No worries.
And what's the difficulty? Or is it just
6
roll
standard?
Okay.
Wow, that's a lot of
Great.
ones, Rowan.
Yeah.
So Rowan got 1 and Sigrun got 2. Okay. So neither of you completely fail, which is good. You guys continue to follow the light, and eventually, after several more minutes, you're not entirely sure how long your sense of time here is skewed, especially with how easily distracted you both are. The light flickers and goes out, and you are left standing amidst a bunch of trees, not on a path, in a forest that to Rowan feels progressively more and more muddled and dark and oppressive as you realize that you are somewhere you have never been. You don't know how to get back to the Autumn World. And you don't know if you were ever on a path in the first place, but you're certainly not on one now.
No. This is not good. This is not good. Okay. So, all right. Our guide is gone, but he looks up at the trees. Trees. Yes, of course. There's still a chance. Can I attempt to use Will-O-Wisper here to see if they have, if the trees have seen, oh my goodness. What's the name of the she we're following?
Lady Kira?
That's the one. If they've seen Lady Kira.
Sure. Tell me, are you doing any bunks or anything, first of all?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, so your default difficulty normally out in the autumn world would be 8, but because you were in the dreaming, you drop to 7 as your starting point.
Okay, perfect. So I think what Rowan is going to do is Crook brought some baked goods with him. Did he distribute any of those?
I thought so.
Okay, so
I think he gave some out when you guys were back in the park.
yes,
Mhm.
yes. So I'm going to have ask Sigrun if she would mind holding one of the muffins below the one of the branches of the trees, and he is going to attempt to climb up, get out onto one of the boughs, swing down, and eat this muffin without using his hands, just his mouth, so that it is both ridiculous and, somewhat risky for Rowan, because as we've established, he is not an athlete. So, and this is... Go ahead.
Remind me which power you're using, just so that I can look up specifics while you're describing it.
Absolutely. This is going to be Will-O-Wisper, which is the first level of Primal.
Okay,
This
cool.
is page 216 in the book. And
Perfect.
I am going to need to spend a point of glamour because I only have Fae 1 and I'm asking about a noble Fae, so needs to be at Fae 2.
Perfect.
And actually, I have the first tier of Seen as well. So can I invoke that to up my difficulty by 1 and ask, any and all of the trees in the air? Or no, I can't, because it has to be an enclosed space. Never mind. Okay, so I'll just focus on this tree.
Okay. So your die pool should be at what? Me realizing I have the wrong sheet open. That's my bad. I have your old sheet open. Okay.
Die pool should be at 3, I believe, because I'm artificially going to Fae 2 and I have 1 dot in Primal.
Yep, you're right. Go ahead.
Cool.
So with this particular bunk, because you were doing something that Rowan almost never does, I'm going to say that I'm going to make you do a roll, to augment your bunk, and that roll will help determine what this bunk is worth.
Okay, sounds good.
Let's do, because this is more about the performance and less about the ability to actually pull it off. Let's do this as a charisma and yeah, let's just do like a straight charisma roll because you don't have athletics.
Yeah, I was not expecting anything less. Standard difficulty?
Yes.
2 successes.
All right, so that's going to lower your difficulty by 2.
Brilliant. All right, so that brings it down to 2 successes there as well.
Excellent. And remembering that you have to speak in a whisper, what are you asking the trees around you, or the trees?
Great Ancient One, there is one who we are searching for. She passed here some hours ago. We have tracked her this far, and I am going to give as detailed a description of Kira Rhodes as I can, give her name as well, and ask, have you seen her? Do you know which direction she has gone?
Okay. For a long moment, the trees are weirdly quiet, which is weird because you've been listening to them whisper the whole time you've been in here.
Yes.
And so when you go when you go and actually talk to them, everything goes kind of eerily still and quiet. And then the tree in front of you seems to shudder just a little bit, like its branches shake, like the faintest of breezes have gone through them. And you hear the sound of leaves moving in the wind and the branches creaking just a little bit. And somehow it seems to form just enough that it sounds like an approximation of speech. And you are told, see royal blood we did. She passed cloaked in shadow, pulled by ancient enemies, deeper along the path.
What ancient enemies are these?
You do not get an answer. You suspect that the tree does not know exactly.
Can you describe them by any chance?
They came in shadows, as if pulled from the spaces between our deepest roots.
As in places of darkness?
Perhaps. They were dark, and our leaves withered at their passing.
Have you encountered anything like this before in all of your time?
We encounter many things, sprung from the dreams of mortals, nursed by the hearts of dreamers, and born from the darkest nightmares. We have seen all things and nothing.
It is to be expected. I thank you for your information and your wisdom. You are most kind. And I bow reverently.
As you do, when you stand back up, a branch seems to grow from the trunk of the tree at an almost perfectly eye level. And as you watch, it grows a like bright, shiny, like almost green, like Granny Smith green, perfect apple.
I regard the apple, and then I will ask the tree, do I have permission to take this? Or is it something that you wish me to look upon?
It is sustenance for your long journey. And as it says that, you can feel the effect of your cantrip fading. And it's like those sighs and scrapes and creaks from the leaves and the branches slowly begin to fade and become normal sounds that don't have a voice tied to them anymore.
I am grateful, and I will pluck the apple, doing my best not to do any undue harm to the tree. And I turn to Sigrun and I say, we can share this.
Except you turn to Sigrun and she's not there anymore.
Huzzah!
Sigrun, you were distracted while he was talking to the tree. You didn't wander off or anything like that, but you kind of turned and were looking elsewhere because you couldn't really be a part of the conversation that he was having.
Fair.
And so you're staring up at this like fascinating, beautiful, intricate. It looks like really delicate lace work that you've seen, but it's a spider web that has stretched between two trees. And you're just kind of staring in awe at this thing. And then when you turn back, because you're sure he's got to be done by now, you don't see him anymore. Rowan's not there.
Yeah, sounds about right. I think Sigrun kind of. It's not like she is not concerned. She has concerns.
But she's also kind of awestruck by everything that's around her.
But yeah, she has like a stronger affinity for the dreaming. So it's not visible on her face that she's concerned. I think she's a bit like the distraction kind of helps with not having that visible concern.
Absolutely.
So I think she's going to try to get closer, and as she gets closer, almost in a means of maybe communicative, but also complimentary, just to whatever may be around to listen.
What fine, intricate craftsmanship. Does this work belong to my kin, to my kith, to my sisters and brothers?
For right now, you don't hear any specific answer. The forest around you does feel like almost like it is breathing and whispering, but you can't make out any specific words. And as you kind of turn your head and you're tilting your ear to hear things, you find yourself turning until the trees begin to give way, and you realize that you are staring at what looks like a fork in a, like a fork in the road, with three branches, one that goes straight forward, one that goes left, one that goes right. But each branch is distinctly different.
How so?
One of them is paved, not like a road like we would think of, but like ancient Roman roads, like big slabs of rock that have been laid into place, and are streaked through with it looks like marble, but instead of the swirls in it being gray, they look almost gold. It is almost like everything is like perfectly hewn, almost too perfect. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you can see giant statues lining this road as it extends off into the middle distance, which is incredibly unclear and hard to see. It is also worth noting that this road is bright. It is like the middle of the day. And the statues on either side are all of like plate armor, knights in plate armor. On the left is a dark, misty trail with high grasses on either side. The mist lies very low to the ground. It is kind of like just after sunset, so when it's still a little bit light outside, but dark enough that it's, definitely getting to nighttime. And the mists kind of swirl and dance. And on the other trail, it's a forest path like what you just came with, except that it is overgrown. There are vines, and you can hear where the misty trail, you can hear whispers coming from it. In the trail with the overgrown forest, you hear the distant sounds of baying hounds. And we're going to leave you there for a minute. Elodie.
Hi.
You've been running for a bit. You don't, you look behind you and you don't see Crook, but you can feel him. You have gone from this is really fun to the bad side of the trip, where it feels almost like you are in a horror movie. Like there is that oppressive, ever-present, I'm being chased feeling at your back, even if you can't see anyone coming for you.
She is gonna whimper a little bit.
The forest has gotten thicker and darker. The whispering sounds between the trees have gotten more ever-present, but even harder to understand because there's so many of them. And as you run, you occasionally get whipped in the face by low-hanging branches that catch you off guard that you don't manage to duck out of the way of. A couple of times your hair gets caught in things. It's scary. I need you to roll me a willpower at difficulty 6, please.
Sorry, I closed the tab.
Unless you have updated your sheet without sending it to me, your total willpower is 5.
Standard difficulty?
Mm-hmm.
That's 2 successes.
Okay. You don't completely panic. But it has gotten progressively more and more unsettling as you have run. What are you going to do?
Okay. What's the scariest thing here? Woods are just trees. Trees are friends. Trees are beautiful and wonderful, so trees aren't scary. The branches hurt my face, but that's because I'm not watching where I was going. I wouldn't get mad at someone if I ran into them because I wasn't watching where I was going. That would be ridiculous. I think the scariest thing is Crook. Because I thought we were having fun and joking around, but I didn't realize that he would be so weak and easy to push over. And oh my god, if he heard me say that he's gonna eat me, I think I'm gonna climb up a tree to escape.
Okay.
I wish Georgie was here.
I need a strength and athletics roll, please. Standard difficulty.
That is 4 successes.
You jump up, grab the lowest hanging branch you can reach, and begin to pull yourself up along the branches. It is a quick, easy climb. And here's what's weird. You climb and you climb and you climb, and after a moment you realize that you're not climbing branches anymore. You're climbing a ladder. And as you pull yourself up to the top of the ladder, you find yourself standing in a clearing. And you are facing 3 paths, just like the 3 that I described to Sigrun. But it's just you standing here.
Her nose is running like really hard, and she just wipes it on her sleeve and just Georgie, I need you. But if your crook, go away. This isn't fun anymore.
You receive no answer, but the whispers coming from the misty path and the baying hounds coming from the forested path.
Doggies.
And we're gonna leave you there. Georgie.
Yes.
You haven't seen Elodie or Crook for a while. You're still running. You think you might be following Elodie, but you would assume that she would have stopped running by now. You are running through the same forest, except that it is... I'm trying to think of how to describe this. It is the same forest, but it feels like you have run to somehow an even darker, older part of it. Not darker in the scary way, just like there's much more canopy overhead, so you see less and less of the sky. And what light you do get is kind of tinged with the green of the leaves above you.
I'll stop running and just close my eyes and listen for a little bit.
What are you thinking about when you listen?
I would like to be smart and listen for Elodie, who usually is loud enough to hear from pretty far away. But I think with the headiness of the dreaming, I'm listening for water.
Okay. As you stand there and you are listening for water, for something that would call you home, because all rivers and all streams lead to the sea, you begin to hear what sounds a little bit like a babbling brook in the distance.
Yeah, that's where I'm headed then.
As your eyes open, you find yourself kind of turning slightly and going towards that sound until you find it. Are you just going to stop here, or are you going to follow it? It is a very small, 2 feet across, maybe a few inches deep. And it's just this light rush of water over kind of smooth, round stones at the bottom. It is like the quintessential, dreamy babbling brook.
I immediately take my shoes off and put my feet in, and I think I'm going to start following it downstream.
Excellent. You follow it for a while, and as you follow it, you find yourself, you're sure that you're going in the right direction because you start following it in the same direction that the water is flowing. And after about 20, what feels like about 20 minutes, you realize that the water isn't going in the direction that you're going anymore. Or was it ever going in the direction that you were going? And you kind of pause and look back at it. No, it's definitely going in the direction that you came from.
I guess I'll follow it back that way then.
Okay. This process repeats itself a couple of times until you start to get ever more confused and ever more turned around. And at one point you turn again to pivot your direction, and you find yourself standing in a clearing instead of standing in the middle of this little brook.
Oh.
Facing 3 paths. Your shoes in your hands. Your bare feet on kind of mossy grass. Staring down a dark, misty, whispering path. An overgrown forested path with the sounds of hounds in the distance. And a paved, brightly lit path lined by the large statues of knights in full plate. Crook!
Yes?
Still attempting to follow Elodie?
I am.
Excellent. I would like you to give me another perception alertness.
Okay.
We're gonna make this a difficulty 8 because she has been moving so much faster than you.
Okay.
That she's gotten quite a bit of distance on you. Still 2
successes.
Well done. Okay. You continue to follow at this kind of almost lackadaisical pace. It doesn't feel lackadaisical to you. Your shoulders are squared. Your every footstep is kind of like heavy and almost pointedly so. And you can feel the squaring of your shoulders, the set in your jaw. And you realize that you feel like you're on the hunt. And as you look around you, you realize that you are in that same kind of like nightmarishly dark forest that I described to Elodie, except that it doesn't feel scary to you. This feels like home. This is where monsters like you were meant to be.
Speaking to myself, mostly to myself, I don't know if she can hear me, how fast she was running, but certainly not under my breath, loud enough that anyone can hear. Running in a darkened wood down a road you never should have come, my Irish taught. I fear that this could hurt a lot.
Love that. You can hear your own voice echoing off of the trees around you. And there is a part of you that is certain that your quarry in this space, whether it is Elodie or someone else or something else, has definitely heard you. And then you get to the point where her trail just stops. It's like she gets to a certain tree and it's just gone.
Watched the occasional nature video. I look up the tree.
It's like a very tall tree.
Line. I climb.
You begin to climb. Make me a wits and kenning roll, please.
Sure.
Standard difficulty.
2 successes.
You begin to climb, and as you do so, you become very aware that while the landscape around you has been shifting and kind of malleable this whole time, as you climb, the tree itself begins to kind of shift and change. And at one point, you pull yourself up onto the next branch, and you realize that the branch is much larger than the other branches have been. It is large enough that you can stand comfortably on it without supporting yourself. Like, you don't have to reach out and hold on to the tree or anything to keep your balance. And you watch as the trunk of the tree seems to begin to split and open up until it forms an archway that leads into pitch darkness.
There's a moment where Crook just sort of stares at it. Dark places aren't good.
But neither are you.
He sets his teeth. Okay. And he goes through.
You step into the shadows, and they seem to envelop you like a warm, like, almost like a warm quilt that's been wrapped around you. And for a moment, you feel more comfortable than you can remember being in your entire life. You are taken back to those rare, sparse moments during your childhood that you felt comfortable and safe. Even though you can't see anything, you feel like, I'm a monster. There's nothing here that can hurt me because the dark is where the monsters live. And then as you keep moving, the darkness kind of peels away from you, and it feels a little bit like the darkness has like hands and arms that were enveloping you. And as you keep moving, they are forced to kind of let you go. And you have to kind of pull yourself out of them as you step into a clearing, facing 3 paths. I am going to go back down to Rowan.
All right. So I'm all alone in the forest, and the trees are no longer speaking to me. For a moment, there's a oh my God, where's Sigrun? How did I lose her? But then I say no. I have to figure my way out of this. So, remembering back to what the journal indicated, and the extra meaning that I gleaned from it, I pull my notebook out of my pocket as well as my pen, and I begin to write. I am going to send you the text of what I'm going to write, but I'm also going to read it aloud for all of our wonderful listeners.
Yes, please.
Rowan knew that madness was but a wrong turn away from him. All of his companions had faded away. Their guide was gone. The only direction he had was that given by the wisdom of the trees, and that his quarry is further down an indicated path. He knew that he had to continue on, that he was the only one who could act in this place and in this moment. He must continue on and find Lady Kira. He knew not what he was going to do when he found her, but he knew that he must do so. He would stay the course and see the quest on to its bitter end, for true bravery is not to laugh in the face of fear, but to do a difficult thing despite one's own fear, because it is the right thing to do. And what I'm drawing on here is the tree very specifically said she passed cloaked in shadow, pulled by ancient enemies deeper along the path. So with any skill that I can bring to bear, I'm going to get down on the ground and look for the path that Lady Kira apparently went along. No idea if I can find it, but I'm gonna try.
Okay. I'm not gonna have you roll. After a moment of kind of crawling around and looking for any sign of which of these 3 paths she may have taken, you realize, oh no, wait, I didn't describe the path for you, did I? I'm sorry. You get down on the ground to look for the path that Lady Kira went down, and you can't find it. It's just forest floor to you. You don't have any experience in tracking somebody. You're not a hunter. This is just this overgrown forest floor. And when you get frustrated, and maybe a little bit more freaked out, you look up and you realize that you're not in the same place anymore. You're in the middle of a clearing, and there are 3 paths in front of you.
Looking down those paths, is there any indication with any of my senses that that these paths are different in any way.
What do you mean different?
Different from each other.
Oh yeah, no. It's the same 3 paths that everybody else has seen. So there's the kind of like dark, misty, whispery one. There's the overgrown forest where you can hear the baying of hounds, and there is the kind of bright middle of the day, paved road with statues of knights on either side.
All right. Stealing myself and rereading my last line, what I just wrote about bravery, I am going to swallow hard and take the darker path.
All right, so we're going for the misty path for you?
That is correct.
Excellent.
I'm going to regret this probably.
All right, we're gonna leave that there, and we're gonna pop over to Sigrid and figure out what path she takes.
Is it possible to see if let me see what I have. Because I want to see if maybe there is a hint of which way is the best way. I think it would be.
I'm just gonna have you make a roll.
Okay.
Roll me intelligence and Greymare. Your tarot specialty does not apply.
Okay.
This is going to be a difficulty 7.
That is 7. And I'll willpower that just in case.
Oh,
Okay.
All right. With 1 willpower, you get the feeling that there is no right or wrong answer here. Each of these paths is probably going to present a different thing to you. It just depends on what feels right.
She looks at all 3.
First one too shiny. No, they wouldn't go shiny. Third one too noisy. No, I'm more of a cat person. The shadows are home. Too obvious.
And I think she'll also go down to the misty path, because that's more homey.
All right. Pivoting back to Elodie.
Hi.
Which path are you taking?
Does the dog sound nice?
They are hunting hounds.
Nice hunting hounds?
I mean, you don't know. Maybe if they're not chasing you.
Well, if they're hunting, they're working, and you don't distract working dogs. I look at the misty path, but those nights look really cool. And it's nice and bright over there.
It is.
That way looks really safe. I want to go that way, because maybe I can be a knight and we can do the King Arthur thing, and then I'll be the king, and then I'll wave a magic sword and everything will be perfect.
All right. You take a step onto the paved path. And when you glance back over your shoulder, where you came from has fallen away, and you are just standing in the middle of this paved road. Georgie,
Yes?
where are you going?
I know enough about stories of the dreaming, I would argue, that you don't want to be on the wrong side of a hunt. Do the whispers sound like they're saying anything?
Can't tell. Kind of creepy.
The castle, the statues, it all means people. And that means I can ask for directions. So I'm gonna head that way.
Okay. You, like Elodie, step onto this paved path into complete and direct sunlight, which kind of blinds you for a moment, and you find yourself blinking really hard. And when you turn to look back, the forest that you came from is gone, as is the brook in the distance.
Boo.
You are standing on this road in the middle of this wide kind of golden field stretching out in either direction. And you look up and realize that these statues, which looked big, but are much bigger than you thought they were. Now that you've stepped onto the path, you come up to like maybe just above the knee on one of them. And it's just you, hoping you made the right choice.
Do I notice it?
Oh.
Can I ask one
Go ahead.
quick question?
Sure.
The statues, I have a specialty in art history.
You do?
Do I recognize any of the statues?
No.
Boo.
They're not specific in that way. Like, yeah, they kind of all look like they could have vaguely been modeled after like any given suit of armor you could see in a really old like estate house in England or in a museum. Brooke, you were standing in a clearing looking at three paths.
Mm.
And because of the effect of the mists of forgetting that you passed to get here, there's no confusion for you. There's no moment where you have to question it. You know instinctively, like in the core of who you are, that you are meant to pick the path that feels right for you. No right or wrong answer.
What is the one detail I missed between the forest path and the misty path? Which one is darker?
They're both dark in different ways. The forest path is dark in that overgrown, crowded, it feels like it's nighttime, everything's kind of oppressive way. And the misty path kind of feels like wandering through an unknown place at night with no light to guide your way. They're both dark. It's just different kinds of dark. Does that make sense?
Yep. Looks at both of them. He looks at the bright path. It's not about what's right for me. Okay. And Elodie was scared and running from him. He has a pretty good idea of which path she'd take in this moment. He goes down the bright path.
Thank you for listening to District of Dreams. If you enjoyed this story, please make sure to subscribe and review wherever you're listening to our podcast. You can find more of our actual plays on our website at www.hallowedhavenstudios.com. Please consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/hallowedhavenstudios. Your support helps make more stories like this possible.
I am going to have everybody roll me a single die, and that's how we're going to determine who we come back with first. Crook got a 6, Elodie got a 7.
Take that.
Rowan got a 9.
On Nats.
Sigrun got a 1. And Georgie got a 7. Georgie, I need you and who else got a 7? Elodie to both roll again, please.
I find it very
Naturally.
funny that the Cluricon got a 7. I just need to say that right now.
Naturally.
Need you both to roll again?
Oof.
Elodie got a 3. Georgie
I
got a 7.
again.
Damn it. I've been
Not
banned
when it
from
matters,
Dave
of course.
Busters.
Okay. All right. That's the order that we're going in. So we are starting with Sigrun because she rolled the lowest.
Yay.
Sigrun,
Mm-hmm.
you chose the misty path.
Mm-hmm.
I'm scrolling back up in my notes because I have a lot of stuff down right now. You step on to this pathway. You can feel the dampness of the mists swirling around your ankles. And you realize that it kind of comes up and it swirls around like your whole body up to like your like navel. And you're looking out around you and you can see trees like in the distance, what you think are trees, it's dark enough that it's hard to tell where one tree starts and the other begins, even with your ability to see in the dark. They are far enough away and it is dark. It's hard to make out detail. And you can hear the whispers, which have gotten much, much louder. And somehow, despite that, still you can't make out anything in specific. You catch like random words, but they don't make any sense. They're just sort of a jumble. It's too many voices to make out. It's almost loud, despite the fact that they're whispering. And when you turn to look back at where you came from, that fork is gone. It's just the same kind of vague outline of a path stretching in the opposite direction from where you are.
Okay. I think she's just going to keep going forward, trying not to get too distracted, but willing to get distracted.
Okay. As you go, you find yourself walking along and you hear through the whispers the occasional sharp metallic clang of metal on metal and the sound of something large and heavy swinging through the air, and it's almost sounds like it's coming at you, but when you look around there's nothing there. At times as you are walking, it feels like the ground under your feet is shaking, with the tremors of something that occasionally comes down hard on the ground. It makes it almost, it's not quite an earthquake. It's more like, imagine standing on a city street and like a car nearby kind of like drops from like a foot up and hits the ground. You feel that kind of vibration. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Except that it's happening far more often than you would expect from like some random thing just dropping out of the sky. You can hear, or you can smell something kind of musky and acrid at the same time and deeply unpleasant, as well as the coppery tang of blood and the additional like metallic smell, like an additional metallic smell, like there's metal very close up against you, or very close to your mouth and your nose, because you can smell it so strongly.
Is the non-metallic smell that she smelled, like the musky smell, is it, what's the best way to put it? Is it gross in just overall general terms of like, oh, this smells like a dead body type of gross, or is it to a Salua, this smells specifically bad?
It is generally gross. You know what it kind of reminds you of? And this isn't necessarily a dig on Elodie, but it smells a little bit like that time that you came into the coffee shop and Elodie had just dropped her gym bag and it was open.
Okay, got it.
And it smelled like clothes that she had like grabbed out of her locker and shoved in her gym bag and then kind of forgotten that she'd left in the gym bag for like 2 weeks.
Got it. So like a moldy.
Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah,
it is a distinctly kind of gross and unwashed smell.
Okay. So far she can feel the vibrations of things being dropped. She can smell and hear metal. But is she able to see anything?
Not at the moment. Would you like to try to focus to bring these sort of sensations a little bit more into their full to try and make them out more?
I would like to try.
Okay. I'm gonna have you make a I'm gonna give you an option, actually.
Okay.
You can either roll perception and Greymare to try and use your kind of clairvoyance-ish stuff, not like an art. We're not going into soothsay or anything like that, but like use your instincts as a seer to try and make it happen. Knowing that in the dreaming, things like that can get way more intense and get very out of hand very quickly. Or you can roll willpower with the understanding that it will be harder, but more controlled. Does that make sense?
Yeah. If I roll willpower, I'm just rolling the 5 total that I have.
Your total willpower, yes.
Okay. Let's try the clairvoyance. Yeah, I'll try that.
Okay.
I'll try that.
Give me perception and Greymare with your clairvoyance. Your clairvoyance specialty. This is going to be a difficulty 5.
Okay. And what do you put in for specialty? Just like 1?
You could just put the name of the specialty, or you could just say yes. It doesn't matter.
Okay, cool.
You just got to have something in that line for it to know that you're using a specialty.
Got it. Trying to see if there's anything else. Yeah, I think that's it. Ooh.
8 successes. Okay. You stop your walking and you close your eyes and you focus hard on the sounds and the smells and the feeling of the vibrations under your feet. And you realize that at one point you can almost feel the air move when that kind of whooshing noise comes down at you. And as you do, your body begins to move on its own. You don't think you're bidding it to happen. You just sort of like loosen your muscles and let them do what they want to do. And as you do so, you begin to move and you realize that you are pivoting on the ball of your foot at times. You are jumping from one side to the other. Your arms come up like you are holding a weapon and you are swinging. At other times, your other arm comes up like you've got a shield to block something, and you can feel the physical kinetic force of something connect with that shield that you're not actually holding. And it makes you stumble. And when your eyes open, you realize that you are looking up at a giant that towers above you. It's like 30 plus feet tall. And a glance around you, you realize that there is one other person there, and they are in full plate, and so are you. And the two of you are doing battle with a giant that has a massive club that it is swinging at you. I would like you to describe what is going through your head, what you're thinking, how you're feeling, what your reaction to this is.
Whenever Sigrun lets herself go to the glamour, to the magic of it all, she allows herself to trust it. She's known it for as long as she has. It's always been with her to an extent. And so that isn't the thing that stresses her. She's actually not even stressed. But if you were to see her face, there is like a twitch in the eye of what could be annoyance. Because how dare they make her wear armor? She is not a fighter. She is not a warrior. She's a seer. Maybe a sage, maybe a mage, depending on which cycle of birth. But she's a seer. And she doesn't do armor, and she doesn't do weapons. So how dare this be happening to her? But even with that eye twitch, she knows that this is something that needs to happen to occur. So while annoyed, while begrudgingly, she's letting this happen.
Okay. As you kind of go through this and you get annoyed and you're kind of angry about it, you realize something. You bring up that shield to try and block the downcoming swing of the giant's club. And you go flying. It hurts this time. It isn't just that you feel the impact, it is that you feel pain. I would like you to roll me your stamina dice.
Okay.
Difficulty 6.
Oh.
2. Not bad. All right, so we are going to subtract 2 from however many successes I roll on this. All right. I would like you to mark down as you having taken 1 level of bashing damage, please. And that'll go under both your chimerical and your real.
Okay. Where would that actually be? I see bruise, but not bashing.
Bruise is the same thing. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
And as you feel the pain kind of rocket through your body, you realize that risk that you undertook, the decision to try to invoke your clairvoyance, you may have accidentally willed what was meant to be an echo or a memory into the reality of the dreaming around you.
Okay.
So, how are you going to handle that? Oh, I'm sorry. I just realized I made a mistake. That actually should be 2 levels of damage, not 1, because there is no ones don't subtract on damage rolls.
Okay.
I just forgot to put a no botch true.
So would I be marked as hurt now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, this is quite a pickle that she's in. I think. How is the other memory knight with me? Are they seemingly handling themselves well, or what's happening with them?
Yeah, no, they seem to be handling themselves pretty well. It is not an easy fight. It is a fucking giant.
Mm-hmm.
But they are certainly doing better than you are at the moment. What strikes you as weird is that they don't seem to notice that you're not doing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it does not seem to have clicked for them that you are suddenly struggling. Because you can tell from the way that your body was reacting and moving earlier, you weren't struggling before. You were struggling once everything sort of fully manifested around you.
Okay. Could I have the Echo's Flaw. Could I lean into the Echo's Flaw to let this memory embody me a bit more, to like just give it more agency for us to continue forward? Because clearly Secret's not going to be the one that's fighting. She can't really fight. She's not made for that. But if she allows herself to be taken in by the memory, could that be something she does to help move it along?
So echoes, for one, is a flaw. It's not something you could use to your advantage. However, you are a medium and a sage. So I will say that let's make a total, like a willpower roll at difficulty 6. And if you can get me at, if you can have at least 2 successes, I will say that you can kind of let this, what you suspect is a past life memory, take over.
Okay. Nope, never.
Oh dear. That's a
real,
failure. It's not a botch, but it is a failure. Okay. I would like you to roll me roll me wits and kenning, please.
Wits and kenning. Okay.
Difficulty 6.
Okay.
Oh no, man! The ones are out for you tonight, Boo. Oh, okay.
The one great roll got me into this situation.
It did. I did warn you. There was a risk for this.
But I had higher stats than that.
You get into this. You get into this pattern where you know that what you need to do is let go of your own instincts and let the instincts of who you used to be take over. You know that on an intellectual level. Here's the problem. Sigrun is because Sigrun's life as a seer, as a clairvoyant, as a medium involves so much constant interruption and so much like excessive information and noise kind of battering her mind at all times. It is very hard for her to let go of control. You're not in a comfortable environment. You're not in a place that feels like home, which means that your mind is like compensating for that need to feel safe. And that becomes kind of a crutch for you. And as you end up spending a lot of time just sort of trying to avoid getting hit.
Yeah, fair.
Like at one point you're like, screw the sword, screw the shield. I'm just gonna like, they're heavy and they're hard to move in, and you kind of toss them to the side, and proceed to just sort of dodge the swings of this club and let the other knight take over, who still weirdly doesn't seem to notice that you're not fighting with him. And over time, the battle kind of plays out, and you see these wounds open up on the giant that no one created. Like a cut here, an open gash there, all of that. It's like it is getting whittled down in a fight that you are present for and not a part of, even though you're definitely in the middle of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
At times you get splattered with like the hot, like a rush of like hot blood that comes from one of these wounds. Just because in your effort to avoid the blow from a fist or from the club, you are close enough that when it opens up, it's like you're the one who made it, even though you don't have a weapon in your hands. And you watch as the other knight does this thing where he runs up behind the giant when it is busy focused on you, and his sword comes down into the backs of either ankle, like it is cutting through the tendons, and the giant topples. And you barely roll out of the way in time to watch a gash form on its throat where no one is standing. And then you realize with kind of shock and horror that you don't see the other knight. And when you look around, you kind of circle around it and you're desperately looking for where, this other knight who is the reason you're alive, figure out where the hell he went. And you realize that the giant toppled onto him. And you can see that he is laying under this body that is too big for you to move. And he is, the giant is basically covered from his like chest down. So all you can see are like his shoulders and his arm and one of his arms and his like helmeted head.
Can I at least lean in and ask this knight a question or speak to him?
Describe what you're doing and what you're saying.
I think it's just as simple as leaning in.
Who should I give your last words to? I can honor you this way.
What you get back is a raspy, pained, groaning breath. Tell the king it was my honor to die for our people. And the voice sounds familiar somehow.
Did she remove the helmet?
Yes.
She'll remove it.
And you see is, if I could get my notes to come up. Hold on. One second. Sorry, guys. I love it when my browser, where my notes are open, decides that it's just not gonna work for a minute. You pull the helmet off, and the face that you see is a man, but that you're not sure if you remember it or not. But as you kind of stare at it in confusion and you're trying to figure out why they seem so familiar, you realize that almost like back when you're in the Autumn World and you see the face of another changeling and it's like their mortal face and then their fairy mien kind of overlaid over it. This person looks vaguely like Vigdis, the troll knight. And you watch as this man who is also Vigdis closes his eyes, and you watch the life fade from his visage. And as that happens, the whole scene gets overtaken by that mist that it flows back in again. And then they all seem to fade from existence. And you are standing there, battered and bruised, and thinking maybe your arm is fractured with how bad it hurts. But it's just you. And we're going to pause there unless you have something else you want to say.
I guess with the squirm ability and being able to contort, can she check on her arm to see if it can at least still move?
Oh, you can move it. It just hurts like hell.
Okay.
And fractures generally you can still move your arm. It just really, really hurts to do it.
Okay. I think it was just like in the realm of, is it actually dislocated or is fractured? Yeah, it's definitely fractured.
Yep.
But okay. Sounds good. That's it for her.
Okay. We are going to pivot to who's next on the list? Elodie.
Hi.
Elodie, you stepped onto this kind of white and gold marble paved road, and you find yourself standing in the middle of this bright, like it almost feels like a spring or summer day in like at noon. The sun is high above you. When you look up, the clouds are like that kind of fluffy cotton candy kind of cloud. And you realize that they almost look like they have formed little shapes every now and again, but they're moving quickly enough that it's hard to make any of them out for long. And you are surrounded by these tall, tall statues of knights.
Are there any plaques on the statues?
Not that you can see yet. Each statue does seem to be slightly different, though. Some of them very different from each other. They all seem like they're coming from the same time period, but like each suit of armor is unique.
I look behind me to make sure I'm not being pursued. And when I realize that the path back is closed off.
It's not so much closed off as it's not where you came from. So it is the same road stretched out endlessly in the opposite direction.
Yeah, but like Crook isn't there.
No.
So I'm a little calmer now for a moment. And then, oh no, I'm by myself. Shit. Well, I guess there's nothing more to do but follow the yellow brick road. And then I start doing that little hop skip of the walk that they do in the movie.
So you turn and begin to and go to skip, and you get about 2 steps, and you realize that when you turn to look back and double check that Crook wasn't following, you weren't being chased anymore, and that the path that you came from was gone. In that time, somehow one of the statues is missing from the side of the road, and instead, a like normal human-sized suit of armor is standing there. It's shield up, facing you. It doesn't have like its weapon is at its side, but it's not. It doesn't look threatening, and it's about 10 feet away.
Tin Man, you're not supposed to be in the story yet. I just got to Oz. Where are the Munchkins?
There's
Not even gonna play along? Boring. And I go to move around the suit.
Well, it's 10 feet in front of you at the moment, so you have to get closer to it first.
I want to give it a wide berth.
Okay, can you make me a perception alertness check, please? Difficulty 6.
Oh no, that's one success.
That's okay. You just needed a success. A success is a success. You realize as you go to try to give it a wide berth that it constantly moves to cut you off. And you're about to get annoyed and frustrated and maybe start yelling when you realize that the shield that it is holding up has words on it.
She's gonna step forward and try and get as close as she can to read it, but far enough away that she's out of range of the sword. I know they haven't drawn it, but don't like it.
You get close enough to read it, and you realize that in this kind of swirling red and gold, what could be paint, but doesn't look like any kind of paint you've ever seen for how smooth it is coated the metal of this shield. That there is words. I'm going to put these in the channel, but I'm also going to read them out loud for everybody. I'll put them in chat so I don't mess up your notes. I am the strike, both swift and true, the sharpened edge, the skill you hew. Yet without heart I fade away, a hollow boast, a wasted play. What am I?
Oh, riddles! Oh no! I am the strike, both swift and true, the sharpened edge, the skill you hew, yet without heart I fade away, a hollow boast, a wasted play. What am I? Oh no! Maybe... combat. Is that right? And I ask the suit of armor as though it will answer.
It draws its sword.
Oh no!
You get the feeling that's not the answer it wanted.
Yeah, no, I got that. Could it be strike both swift and true? The skill you hew. Without heart, a hollow boast. Could it be kindness? Is it the power of friendship?
The sword shifts into a more ready stance. And extra words form... actually, no. Extra words don't form at the bottom. It begins to speak in a kind of deep, distinctly like older masculine tone. Reminds you a little bit of somewhere between Crook and Rowan. Not so much that it sounds exactly like either of them, but it's got Rowan's kind of like teaching tone to it, but Crook's like hard ass tone. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Might alone is not enough, nor wisdom without deed.
Strategy?
Make me a... I'm looking at your sheet. Girl.
I never claimed to be smart. In fact, I claimed the exact opposite. I am a meathead that hits things.
Make me an intelligence and investigation roll.
Oh no.
You're actually not terrible at this. It's just difficulty 6. Actually, let's make it difficulty 5.
Oh, that's 5 successes.
Excellent. You get the feeling that you were, let's say, on the right path to your answer, and that you were looking for a synonym.
Okay, a synonym to strategy. Warcraft. Sun Tzu's The Art of War. It's a...
Look at your journal, sweetheart.
I understand. I was so busy taking notes, I didn't see what was right under my nose. That's what school gets you. Kicks my desk. Okay. Prowess.
And just like that, the sword is lowered and sheathed. And the voice comes again. You will find a treasure held once in your hand and to be held again in a grove nestled in the hollow of a tree.
I don't have treasure. Do you mean Kira? Well, she's not. We're
As you stumble and try to ask questions, he shifts and steps back towards the open spot where there used to be a statue. And as he does so, he is replaced. There's like a shimmering light, and it's no longer a suit of armor. It is the statue of a suit of armor.
That really adds a whole new meaning to being stonewalled, my guy. That was kind of cold.
And then there is a rush of mist that comes in from all sides and seems to crawl over and swallow the statues. And they the world kind of goes kind of grayish white and fades away, and you find yourself, as it does so, standing in the middle of the first forest before you began to run. And you are looking at Sigrun, who looks bruised and is cradling her arm.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Are you okay?
Please, not so loud.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Are you okay?
I appreciate that. Thank you. I don't know how you and Crook are able to do this. I hate fighting.
Have you tried it before?
Apparently in a previous life, possibly. But even before my turn back, I wasn't the strongest person. Dodging, yes. Keeping the shadows, yes. Hitting and taking hits, no.
Oh goodness. I'm really glad that I actually listened to Rowan and brought my jacket, because I'm going to take my jacket off, and I don't have much medicine at all, but I know when your arm is hurt, you got to keep it close to your body to make sure it doesn't move too much. So I want to try to help secure Sigrun's arm without hurting her.
You're gonna make a makeshift sling?
If possible.
Yeah, I'm not gonna make you roll for that. She's very smart. Between the two of you two, you could figure it out.
We have one brain cell.
You have one.
More than one brain
You have
cell.
one. She has many. She kind of guides you through the process, is what ends up happening.
Fling over here, and then wrap there. Yes, like that.
Okay. Okay.
And we are going to pivot to Crook. Crook, you step out onto this bright, polished, white and gold marble road, and it is lined with these tall statues of armor, knights in armor. What would you like to do?
My shoulders rise up. I hunch down a little, feeling completely out of place. I kind of white knuckle my morning star, and I start walking forward.
As you begin to walk forward, you hear the grinding of stone on stone from up and just to the side, and you realize that one of the statues has stepped into the road in front of you.
Oh, fuck you.
And you watch as it shrinks down into a normal, like, man-sized suit of armor. It's metal and not stone anymore. It has a greatsword strapped to its back. Or not strapped to its back, like cradled in its arm the way you're supposed to hold, like, really, like, F-off big swords. Like Zweihinders. But across the breastplate, you see words beginning to form in that kind of swirling yellow and gold script. And those words are, I am the bond that time can't sever, stronger still through worst endeavor. Test me with distance, trial, or strife. I hold through love, through oath, through life. What am I?
He looks at it for a minute. He looks down at his morning star. I want to hit you so much right now.
It does not respond.
But it's that which I failed to show today. Faithfulness.
There's a moment where nothing happens. It's just this long, quiet, pregnant pause. And then a voice answers, and it's a woman's. Remember well, only those who stay true shall find the path home. And then she steps back to the side of the road, grows into the full-sized statue, and mist flows in. And as it begins to dissipate afterwards, you are standing back in the original place where everybody split up. And you see Elodie and Sigrun, whose arm is in a sling.
There, it's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna. I hide behind Sigrun.
So,
First,
she doesn't like it when you shout. Come here.
It's okay.
No.
It's okay. It's okay. A lot has happened. To recap for me, I was stuck in a memory. It ended up being a bit more real. Fractured, not dislocated. Elodie helped with setting it.
I'm sorry.
I chose to indulge.
That makes 3 of us. Elodie, come here. I'm not going to hurt you.
Elodie slowly moves around Sigrun. Their shoulders kind of slumped. Even their pointy ears seem to like droop as they walk over like a kid that knows they're about to get like absolutely lectured to within an inch of their life.
Sigrun also kind of give like a, it's not like, kind of like a pat on like the lower back, not like the butt pat of like, there you go, like go get in the game. But it's just like it's a nice pat of like, he's not going to hurt you.
Just smack me on the butt like a football player.
We'll go higher than the butt. We'll go to like the lower back. It's like,
It's okay. Just go.
They'll keep their eyes on the ground, but they'll stop in front of Crook, kind of staring down at his boots.
You look me in the fucking eyes.
I'll look up.
I'm sorry I lost my temper. I lost my temper. You ran in the wrong direction. We left our motley bond. And he points to Sigrun, and that's what happened. We don't do it again, right?
Right. I'm sorry. Everything here is... I've never been here before. I didn't know it would be like this. I thought we were having fun.
You can have fun, but you can't run away.
You told me to.
I told you to run, not to... no, we're not going to fight about this right now.
We're fighting?
We're
No,
not.
you are not. Breaths, Crook. Deep breath.
Your motley needs you. Do not abandon them.
I won't. Her lip trembles just a little bit. Miss Georgie.
Well, so far there's 3 out of 5. I suspect the other 2 will be along shortly.
A big old sniff. Rowan's always got nice words and encouragement and usually has like a muffin or something.
Oh, hold on.
she reaches into her bag and pulls out one of the muffins that she still had.
Muffin!
You can have it.
Yay! Thank you. Elodie is much happier.
All right. we're gonna pivot to Georgie. Georgie, you are
Yeah?
barefoot on this road, surrounded by large statues of armor. What are you gonna do?
Keep walking.
As you move, you realize that the statues on either side of you begin to shift and change. And you kind of like look up and double take because they're not armor anymore. They are people. Beautiful people. And they all look distinctly like they are adoring and almost worshipful of you.
Ooh.
And you find yourself steeped in that feeling that you get when you are with one of your long-term partners, the ones that make you want to keep coming back for a long time.
Okay.
One of them looks a little bit like Carter.
I'm in like jeans, but I will attempt a curtsy.
Who are you curtsying to?
The one who looks like Carter, obviously.
As you do that, the stone that he is made of seems to kind of flake away and leaves behind skin and hair and those eyes that you kind of get lost in every time you're around each other. And he steps over at the same time. A statue who looks remarkably like a young woman that you kind of fell head over heels with when you were in college in California also steps over. And then there's a third person and a fourth person and a fifth person. And you find yourself caught up in this heady, pleasure-filled, hedonistic moment where you realize that all of these people love you. All of these people want to lavish you with attention. And this is nice. You could stay here for as long as you wanted, really.
Damn. Why couldn't it be a riddle? Yeah, unfortunately, this is a really good Georgie trap.
Would you like to... Is there anything you would like to do? Would you like to try and focus through it? Would you like to ask questions? What would you like to do?
Here's the problem. Clara wants to push through it. Georgie's like, we can find a clearing.
Okay. You find a clearing. How long are you gonna be in the clearing?
How many people are there?
Minimum 5 or 6. The reality is that the longer you stay there, the more people could show up.
I'm so sorry. I am going to waste a couple hours.
Okay. I would like you to roll me 2d10. You could just set whatever the difficulty is. I just want to see what the numbers are. Okay. 5 hours later. You are laying there, exhausted, utterly spent, completely naked, surrounded by these people. You're laying in this like really soft grass. The reality is that like it would have taken entirely too long to get to like any sort of cover, but you're in the middle of nowhere and nobody else is around. So it doesn't strike you as weird that you just kind of, sprawl out in a field and do it for several hours. As you are laying there, you look up and you realize that the sky has gone very dark. It is no longer the middle of the day. It is setting. And you see the stars are not in any sort of pattern you were familiar with. The longer you stare at them and just sort of like let yourself kind of bask in the afterglow, the more you realize that they have started to look vaguely like the outline of faces of people that you know. And they remind you that you left people behind somewhere some time ago. Make me a willpower check, please. Difficulty 6.
Oh my god, the command's not working.
Really?
What's the command? I think I'm typing it in wrong.
/dice space roll.
Oh, no, you're right. Difficulty?
6. 1 success.
I were like, shit.
Another like 30 to 40 minutes passes before you finally kind of sit up and look around, and you realize that there is nobody with you anymore. It's just you. You don't know where all the people went. You don't know if they got up and wandered away. You're not sure. But the statues of knights are back in their places, and it's just you laying here alone in the dark. And there is a knight in full plate standing in the middle of the road, not facing you, but standing there with its shield up.
I will get redressed and go check out the knight.
And you see on the shield words in that same red and gold flowing script. And here they are. I walk the line between want and need, a steady hand that curbs all greed. Too much I break, too little I fade, but in my balance peace is made. What am I?
You know, I'm really great at riddles when I'm not on the spot.
As you stand there, your instinct tells you that getting this right is important. You may be able to try to come up with things to guide you to the right answer, if that makes sense, but you're not going to get to stumble too much. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've heard and I've read enough fairy tales. I have a guess. Well, no, now I don't because the line is different. I don't want to get it wrong. Would I be able to make a roll for it before I fuck this up?
Would you like a hint?
Yeah.
Make me a intelligence and kenning roll. Difficulty 6.
In retrospect, rolling is the worst idea because I actually roll worse than I answer riddles.
Wow, that's a fail.
So I'm just going to answer then because if I'm wrong, that'll be really funny. Because my guess was temperance.
Okay. As you say temperance, you have images flow into your mind of shifting landscapes, but you can see the overlay or the underlay under those landscapes is raw emotion and imagination kind of all mixed up. You get the feeling that because you were in the dreaming and the world around you is glamour and glamour comes from dreamers, that you are in a place that is malleable, not to a hugely extreme degree, at least not by like you and your friends, but perhaps if you all work together and focused and maybe followed and told your story, you could influence what the dreaming does and how it works, especially the further away from the autumn world you get. And as you have that thought and you have that realization, the mist rolls in. It wraps up around you like the mist that you have felt while standing on a beach. And it feels cool and comfortable and almost homey. And when it begins to fall away again, you are standing in the clearing, looking at the rest of your motley. I'm not going to give you guys a chance to respond because she took so long. So the reality is that she's probably got back after Rowan did. So we will put that particular scene on hold until the end. Rowan.
Yes,
You stepped onto the dark and misty path.
I did.
You are standing here wrapped up in the feeling of this mist that kind of clings to your skin and to your hair, and to your clothes. It is chilly. You would give anything to be at home next to a fire with a good book and a blanket wrapped around your legs, but that's not where you are right now. Instead, you are alone, and you are hearing the whispers and the sounds around you, and you're hoping that it'll give you some insight into what is happening, some idea of what's going on and where you are, and maybe where Kira is, or at the very least where your motley is. And as that happens, you hear the sound of hoofbeats, and voices calling out in both cheers and goodbyes at the same time, but you don't see anything at the moment.
Does this by any chance remind me of anything from my own writings?
No.
Okay. I just thought maybe because of the castle I had seen when we first arrived here. That might have been the case. Okay. I am going to move cautiously towards the sound of the sounds that I'm hearing.
They're kind of coming from all around you,
Okay.
not in any one specific direction.
I see.
It all feels vaguely familiar, but you know it's not something you've ever written about.
Okay. This is something that I probably should save because I only get one use of it. But since I'm alone and very much out of my depth, I feel like it's a good time to use it. I'd like to call on my remembrance background, if I may, to see if there's anything that I might glean that might give me some insight from my past lives.
Let me see. Reminding myself how the remembrance background works.
It's page 170. Anytime the character interacts with changelings or other creatures and locations in the dreaming, I can roll intelligence plus remembrance to recall details about the subject at hand. Difficulty is based on the obscurity of the information.
Okay, sure. Roll your intelligence plus your remembrance. We're going to make this a difficulty... difficulty 8. You can spend willpower on this if you want to.
I don't have much willpower left, so I better not. Oh, you know what? Desperate times call for desperate measures, so maybe I will. Or... let's see. Yeah, I will.
Okay. Good thing you took the willpower. That gives you the one success you need.
It does give me one, okay.
As you try to focus, and you're kind of wandering this path, trying to find the source of the sound, trying to remember, trying to force your past lives to help. You stumble upon a clear, very, very still, almost perfectly round pool in the ground. There is a small, there is kind of a glimmer that is reflected off of it, even though there's no lights overhead for it to be reflecting. And as you get close enough, you see that there are images moving on the water. Like you're looking almost like at something playing out on a TV screen.
What sorts of images do I see?
What you see is a child, a young boy, with a kind of messy mop of golden hair, standing next to a woman in this old, like, medieval style gown. And they are watching as knights are on horseback and riding away from them, looking like they are riding off to battle.
Okay. Well, that tracks with what they're saying. Do I remember any, or do I know any history about the scene that is playing out before me? With my knowledge of things Fae. being what it is.
Roll me intelligence and academics, and I'll give you your creative specialty. This is going to be a difficulty 7.
Okay.
Oof, 1
Just
success.
one, unfortunately, yeah.
A scene like this could happen in a number of stories, but given the pattern that you guys have encountered with everything that's linked back to Arthurian legends, this seems like if it's gonna be anything from those, it might be the scene of some of the Knights of Camelot riding away, although the surroundings don't look as splendid and fine as you would expect Camelot to look. Like, they don't look bad, but they kind of look like pretty stereotypical, like medieval keep surroundings, rather than the kind of glowing white perfectly hewn rock that you would expect from like the dream place that is Camelot. And you kind of narrow it down a little bit, and the best you can come up with is that you may be looking at a very young Arthur watching knights ride away and going off to battle when he's still quite young, still a boy.
Good heavens.
I will say that instinctively you know that Arthur is not the perspective that is yours here. You're kind of watching this like a third party more than from like a specific person's viewpoint. Does that make sense?
It does, yes. So it's very clear that I was not Arthur in a past life.
Correct.
Okay, so you mentioned that there's a glow reflecting off the pond.
It was more that there's stuff like happening, and you needed to get closer to look at it.
Okay. Would I be able to see well enough to write?
Not here. It's dark. It's weird because the image that you're looking at seems like it's almost got its own light, but it's not the kind of light that spreads. Does that make sense?
Yes. I'll try something else then. If I pull out my smartphone, is it working insofar as just being able to pull up a notepad and type something into it?
I will say yes. There's going to be a roll that we have to do later, but yes.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so I'm going to type 2 separate things. One is an account of what has been happening so far with the expressive style that I gave to my the last thing that I wrote. And then the second thing that I will write is more specifically just writing down what the image was that I saw in the pool. What I'm trying to test here is, does anything happen, first of all, with the first bit of writing where it's my story, and with the second document, I'm trying to see, does that vanish like when I wrote in the journal in the coffee shop?
How exactly are you writing it? Are you writing it from your perspective of you watched this play out, or are you writing it like it is like you're writing the scene that's playing out in front of you, like you're writing it in a book? Like the young boy watched this, blah, blah, blah. Or are you writing it like Rowan looked into the pool and saw such and such and such?
The first time, because that would be part of the original write-up, I suppose. The first time it'll be from my perspective, as if I were a character in a story watching this image. The second time, it would be just I write what I saw in the image without involving Rowan Parson in that narrative.
So you write out the first one and it goes away. And you're like, okay, weird. So you write out the second one and it goes away. And then you watch as words begin to form on their own that are kind of a mixture of the two. Well, it is closer to writing as if you were there, but it is a different perspective. The perspective becomes that the one who is seeing all of this play out is actually one of the knights. He's actually at the head of the procession.
I'd like to look at. Go ahead.
And while sorry, I'm having a moment where my brain is just like, we know what we're saying. We are. While it doesn't provide a name at all, you get the feeling that he is one of the more a knight of some standing compared to those to some of those around him. He seems like he's not just a knight, he may be like a proper full-on like nobleman with title, just from the vibe that you get.
Landed, perhaps?
Yes, absolutely landed.
Okay. Thinking back to the memory that, or the vision that I had, where, it was during the prophecy where I was sitting in this hall and there was a boy sitting next to me who I knew instinctively to be my son. Was I sitting at the head of that table?
You were.
Okay. All right. So I'm starting to piece things together a little bit. Can I pick out the knight that the words are referring to by looking at the image in the pond?
It's a little hard to see it because you are looking from a third perspective, but you kind of think maybe you can tell which one he is. He is kind of tall. He doesn't have his helmet on right now, so he's got kind of like this full head of dark hair, a full beard, kind of very square shoulders, but you're looking at him from behind, so you can't really tell much beyond that.
Okay. Perfect. Any heraldry that I can see by any chance?
No, because he's like, there are banners, but there are a number of banners because there's a lot of knights here.
Right.
So it's hard to tell specifically which one is his, who might be with him, that sort of thing. But as you kind of identify him, that's when the mists start to kind of roll in and get thicker and thicker and thicker, and they eventually kind of cover over that reflecting pool.
Right.
And it seems to kind of fade and shimmer from existence as the mists kind of come up and envelop you. And there's a moment of panic because it's cold and it's got very dark, like even your phone isn't putting off any light.
Yeah.
And as the panic really starts to kind of grip at you, the mist rolls away. And you are sitting in a clearing, looking up at Crook, Sigrun, and Elodie. And Sigrun looks battered and her arm is in a sling.
Just in case, did you want me to make that roll about the phone now, or? No,
we'll worry about it later.
Okay.
Oh no.
Uh-oh. Whatever. This is fun. Okay. So, oh goodness, you're all here. Oh, wait.
Before you say anything, I indulged in a memory. It was a memory of a fight. I cannot fight. It is fractured, not dislocated. Elodie helped with setting. She had her talk with Crook. They are fine. We are simply waiting for our last. Do not panic.
Any more than I already am.
More than you already have.
Yes. I look around because it did occur to me that Lord Rhodes was with us as well. Is he here now?
Oh no, he was gone when you guys went through. When you guys were
Right.
Yeah, he went ahead of us.
You're right. Okay. Yes.
Not so much
Okay.
that he went ahead of you as he just sort of disappeared on
Yes. Okay.
We can only assume he went ahead of us.
I mean, if he's not actively ahead of us looking for his daughter, I got questions for this man.
Yeah. Okay, so I get the feeling that the dreaming wanted to show us something, and it wanted us to each see it separately. Otherwise, Sigrun and I surely would still have been together. You didn't wander off anywhere, did you, Sigrun?
No, I was looking at a very beautifully intricate web, and then when I turned, you were not there, but the trees parted for some pathways.
How many
Oh.
pathways?
3.
I feel like I may have seen the very same pathways.
This might be important. I also saw stuff, and I went through one of the paths because I was running, and everything's fine. But a suit of armor gave me riddles, and they said that you will find a treasure held once in your hand, and to be held again in a grove nestled in the hollow of a tree. I don't have treasure. Never have. So maybe it's metaphorical, and it's what we're looking for?
Or it may have been a treasure that you possessed in a past life. And I have a sneaking suspicion it may be one of the swords that we saw in our vision.
I don't think I have a past life. I think I'm brand new.
You're brand new in this life, Elodie. But I can assure you that you have lived many lives prior to this.
I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it. You guys all have so much knowledge, and I'm just me. I don't have any other things bopping around up here, and I tap the middle of my forehead.
Just because you do not have great knowledge of the Fey realm does not mean that you have not experienced things in the past. Every changeling, every Fey must start over again when they begin the cycle anew. You are simply going through that process. If you can think back to when you began school, did you know all of the things that you know now?
No, but I'm not sure that I know any of the things they tried to teach me. I wasn't really paying attention.
Well then, we will have to try again.
So everyone's here except George. Where is she?
I don't know. I was alone when I went down my path.
Well, if we're all back here, I'm sure she'll be here soon.
Let us hope so.
Everyone has their own path to take. Some may be short, some may be longer. We should give her time.
But what if she's fighting like you were and she's in trouble and she's hurt? And it's my fault.
How is it your fault?
Because I ran away and she ran after me and it was being real silly.
It is Georgie's choice to follow. She didn't have to. It is not your fault that she chooses to.
That, and given that Sigrun and I were standing right next to each other, and we still managed to become separated, I don't think we could have stayed together even if we had all bound ourselves with rope.
Okay. So, you guys want to play I Spy while we wait?
Some hours later, you all have gotten very tired of I Spy.
I spy with my little eye something green.
It's a tree again.
Okay, that one was easy. I spy with my little eye.
I just remembered something.
What?
The memory I walked through.
Oh, I thought she was going to say that I hate I Spy. Sorry.
No. I thought she would be sassy too.
I left the oven on.
No, she's just blunt and it's just like, oh wait, let me tell you about my dream.
You guys are so lucky I went with I Spy and not just a million rounds of 100 bottles of beer on the wall.
The memory that I was a part of, the echo, it was, I saw Victus, the troll that served the High King. It was maybe a death of another life. Could not be for sure.
Victus.
Is she here too?
It was simply a memory.
Maybe she was dreaming.
The dreaming has a way of bleeding thoughts in. I suspect the person that I enveloped was someone of my past lives. But it's also possible that their memories of Victus bled through as well. It was hard to...
I think she'll try to go into as much detail as possible. She's not great at like artistic stuff, so there's only so much you can describe about like armor and what did Victus look like at the time. But she'll do her best to like maybe see if people who are more learned like Rowan.
you are in the middle of describing things, and again, it's been hours. Like you've kind of lost track of time.
She got so distracted with I Spy.
And that's around the time that a mist kind of like flows in, and you all watch as Georgie is left standing there, hair tousled, clothes wrinkled, and, you know, chimerically wet.
Just chimerically?
and real.
and frankly looking a little tired.
Sorry, that was really gross. I'm so sorry.
No, lean into it. Lean into it.
Oh, hey.
Georgie! And Elodie starts crying and runs into her arms and wraps her arms around her middle and just, I thought you were gone forever. I thought you were dead. I thought I had to pay rent by myself.
So loud. So loud.
Elodie, please be calm. Are you all right? Yes, Georgie.
Oh, I'm great. And George just like pets Elodie's hair as like it gives her a big hug.
I would like anybody who would like to give me perception and empathy, please.
Oh,
Coming
boy.
up.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Do I even have empathy?
Rowan, your detail-oriented will apply.
Oh, come on.
Brilliant.
Okay. You said perception and empathy?
Yes.
Okay. God, I hope I get this.
You got laid.
That's 3 successes for Elodie.
Let me see.
2 successes
Okay,
for Kirk.
Now you all
Only
succeed.
2 for me.
3 successes for me.
Y'all have never
Ladies!
Literally all of you notice at about the same time that you are 99.9% sure that Georgie looks vaguely like she tends to when she's doing the walk of shame after going out with somebody new and she's coming home at 10 11 o'clock in the morning. Not so much that she looks ashamed of herself. She looks very comfortable and like the cat who got the canary. But yeah, you are 90% sure that whatever the dreaming did for her, she got very laid.
Well, I wish that was me.
Georgie,
Instead of this.
Georgie,
Yes.
what's the #1 rule in the Feywild?
Don't eat things that are offered to you.
Yeah, and what did you do?
I look guiltily at the discarded apple core, which was eaten hours ago.
I'm so glad that got the response it deserved.
Thank God for push to talk.
I love that. I love that.
I'm crying.
Yeah, Sigrid's response still I'm like, it's still there. It's like,
I honestly wish that was me and not.
and she just slightly raises the slinged arm.
You
Well-
seem to have a good time.
Okay, well,
No shame in it. Never be ashamed of inhibitions.
I'm not.
Good.
You left us here for hours.
Please be quiet for Sigrun.
You left us here for hours.
I lost track of time.
As one does.
Well, at least it wasn't, what's his name? Colin, Connor, Keith.
Carter. And it kind of was.
Damn it.
Brooke, who hasn't said a word through every hour that has gone by, has not responded to a single I spy, has been just squatting slightly away from the group, staring off into the darkness. Finally, can we go?
I look around. Can we go, storyteller?
I mean, you can always go. There's no like path that you're on. You're just in a clearing, but you could always go. Before that happens, however, I need Rowan and Crook to both roll your glamour at a difficulty of 8.
Permanent
Yep.
glamour?
I'm sorry?
Permanent glamour, because I've spent
Yes.
some.
Yes.
Okay.
Oof. Okay. Crook, you are fine. Your banality does not go up. Rowan, you gain 1 banality.
Ooh, okay. What does that feel like?
It feels like having a little bit of the awe and impressiveness and joy of this place. Just a little bit. It's not bad because you're kind of permanently under the effect of the mists of forgetting. But just a little bit, you feel like the cold, the kind of cold, grounded feeling of the autumn world kind of creep in, even in this place that is made of raw glamour and dreams. For just a moment, it steals a little bit of that awe from you.
I close my eyes against the feeling. I'm sure this is not the first time that something like that has happened to me.
No, not at all.
So I feel like I by now have trained myself to reflexively go into a memory of something that I wrote, perhaps a particularly enchanting scene that I enjoyed from one of my novels, or maybe something that I'm working on currently. But that only takes a moment.
Trying to like wrap yourself up in this like kind of warm, inviting memory.
Yes.
Thankfully, you're in the dreaming. Would you like to describe the scene that you are imagining?
Yes. I'm envisioning a trip that the company of characters that this plot line was following went down into this deep cave system with these gigantic multicolored glowing fungal growths, and just the description of the scintillating light as it played across the caverns as stalactites, stalagmites, and just the wonder that these characters felt as they moved through this place, but also knowing that they could not stay long in that place because of the toxic air that was around them.
Okay. Roll me your glamour at difficulty 6. Actually,
Let's
difficulty. Let's make it difficulty 5.
5. Okay.
That's your total glamour, not temporary. Permanent, I mean. God.
Got it.
I know
No.
words.
I know what you meant. 3 successes.
The rest of you watch as Rowan has this almost pained look on his face for a moment, like he's remembering or feeling something painful and unpleasant, and he closes his eyes, and as he does so, you guys watch the surroundings around you, which have already been kind of malleable and shifting, begin to shift again until you find yourself in the scene that he just described.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
Open my eyes. I look up and around. And goodness. Take
Georgie?
it in.
Yes.
You know what just happened.
Yeah.
At least you're pretty sure.
This place is changeable if we control the narrative.
I imagine the air is not toxic anymore.
It is not, and you're not at a cave, but you are surrounded by giant mushrooms.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's
No.
still, you're still basically in a forest. It's just that instead of trees, you have mushrooms.
Okay.
Which means my guess is that if we're going to find Lady Kira, we might be able to put ourselves where she is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How do we want to get to her? I take out my notebook and I get ready to write our path with input from the rest of the group.
Elodie very much in the there's no place like home narrative of the Wizard of Oz, as she was referencing earlier, kind of squeezes her eyes shut and like balls her fists and really thinks about the words and tries to envision a grove, the hollow of a tree, and a treasure being held in her hand. And she'll say that out loud because that's the best hint that she has, because as sappy as it is, she doesn't think she's after a sword. She's thinking that she might get to hold Kira's hand.
That is the cutest fucking thing.
I love it.
Okay.
She doesn't say that part out loud.
I am gonna clarify some things for Georgie's sake. You can shift the area around you to be a little bit more what you imagine. You cannot like transport yourself just by thinking about it. I just want to be clear.
Okay.
It's not like you could just say, we're going to think real hard and then we're just going to be in front of Kira.
Oh, for sure.
That being said, as Elodie focuses, I would like Elodie to roll me her glamour pool at difficulty 5.
Give me a sec. Damn it. That's only 2.
So what happens as Elodie's imaginings and Rowan's imaginings begin to kind of butt up against each other is that a couple of the mushrooms shift into trees again, But several of them kind of look somewhere in the middle. It's really weird. It's like a mushroom, but it's got branches coming off of it, and some of them have like roots. And the one closest to Elodie forms a little hollow in the quote unquote like roots at the bottom of it. There's nothing there, but it is as close an image to what Elodie was trying to project as she could get, as it could do while still being shaped by Rowan's imaginings.
Peeks an eye open. Did it help?
Well, you created something that is absolutely true. Perhaps we can put that in as part of the journey. Georgie, is it possible to sort of plot and influence a path to a place, or is that something that is beyond the scope of dreaming?
Is this something I would know? Like how to navigate the dreaming?
Roll me, because this is an actual like knowledge check. Roll me intelligence and Greymare. And I will allow anybody who has Greymare to roll this. Georgie, we're going to say your difficulty is at 5. Everybody else's is at 6.
Greymare, and what else?
Intelligence.
Intelligence, I got it.
If I want to add willpower, I'm just going to throw in a toss in the true, correct?
Yes.
Woohoo!
Oh, thank God.
Good Lord. All right.
And did just as fine as someone who didn't.
Yeah, she's got a bigger die pool than you, though. And Elodie doesn't have Greymare, does she?
No.
Okay.
We'll teach her.
I have points that I haven't spent because I've been busy.
Crook, with your 1, you've heard about paths and trods in the dreaming, but you've only ever heard of ones that seem like established. Like it seems like they're pretty much always the same thing, maybe? At least that's how people talk about it. You've also never been here. You have certainly never heard of somebody just calling one up out of the blue. Rowan, you have heard of a number of different paths and trods, but nothing like what she is describing. Georgie and Sigrun, paths and trods do change. You both know that much. But they do not change because dreamers or Kith who are in the dreaming make them change. They change because the dreaming changes them. And the dreaming is impacted by the flow of banality and glamour in the greater world. That is a very big, very powerful thing that you can't really muck with. Georgie, you are also intimately aware, as you were thinking about this, that the powers of the Wayfarer art can be very, very effective in the dreaming. But also, it's a little bit wild. Sometimes you get more than you ever bargained for, kind of like what Sigrun did when she, leaned too hard into a memory.
Was it worth it, Jack?
Typically, that type of thing isn't strongly meddled with. It is manipulated and moved by other things outside of mortal and Kith control.
But we still may be able to tap into it.
Oh.
The hard part is focusing on it?
Typically, yes.
Have we tried saying please?
I have a terrible idea.
Speak your
I don't think
mind.
there's any such thing in the... Well, there is a such thing in the dreaming list.
You literally just spent time being told by Sigrun about her terrible idea.
I don't know. I'm having a great time here. Georgie reaches into her pocket and pulls the piece of chalk she took from the cafe before they left. Here's the thing. Traveling in the dreaming this art isn't easy on its own. It's not a good idea anyway.
Mm-mm.
But if we have a place we can focus on, maybe I can just open a door.
A place we've been to before?
Or a place we collectively want to be.
Well, what about Elodie's hollow tree?
I
Or
mean,
she-
if that's where Kira is.
Either
Georgie,
Sorry.
the magic, the glamour that you tap into, can it be used to also locate people?
And Sigrid reaches into her pockets. Now, when she was casting the spell initially, she would have had Lord Rhodes give her something of Kira. I just don't remember
She
what
did,
it.
yes.
I just don't remember what it was, so she will pull out that item.
Mm-hmm.
This was being used to help track Kira. Would this assist in the manner?
I don't know. I've never done this before.
Oh, fascinating.
I mostly use it to get out of places quickly.
Well,
But
if you are willing, I can at least speak through my experiences of tracking people, and perhaps I can give you some semblance of assistance. I don't know if assistance is in Changeling, so
me like rapidly trying to remember how magic works in this game.
So the big thing about portal passage, which I believe is what you were trying to use, is that is that I am fairly certain you need to know where you're going.
Yes.
It's about gaining entry or egress whenever and wherever the changeling desires.
So here's part 2 of my terrible idea.
I am fairly certain that looking at your sheet, you absolutely have the realms that you need to make this happen, because you've got one in Fae and everybody here is a commoner, and you have 2 in nature, which helps with being able to use like a tree.
Technically, no. Not everyone here is a commoner.
Oh shit! No, you'd have to pay some extra glamour in order to take Crook with you. I'm sorry, I forgot that Crook is titled.
Crook. Ruining it for everyone else.
The
You just, have to,
Bleatwazzy.
you just have to spend extra glamour to do it. That's all it is. But you do kind of need to like know where you're going.
So part 2 of my terrible idea, because I had a vision when we landed, and I have a very I had dreamt about this place before, I think, which is that castle by the sea, correct?
I mean, you have seen castles by the sea. You've also seen castles under the sea, I believe.
Oh shit, you're right. There were 2.
Um,
I'm specifically thinking of the one that flickered in and out when we first got here.
yeah, you got a glimpse of it. It was at a distance. It was a long way away, but you saw it.
You know, I saw something too when I came in. It was a keep. It reminded me of, I think I put it into a short story at one point. I can't remember which one now, unfortunately.
My thought is this. We don't know where we're going, but anywhere is better than wandering nowhere, right?
I agree.
So we just pick a direction and from there get our bearings.
We could. It's as good an idea as any.
Crook, you've been very silent.
Yep.
Please stop.
I have nothing to add at this time.
Any assistance I can provide, you have.
I'm sorry, Croak. I shouldn't have been short with you there.
Elodie is going to kind of stand next to Crook and like do the thing where she looks at him out of the corner of her eye a couple times in a way that she thinks is subtle, but is totally
It's very
seeable.
not.
Yeah, absolutely. And then she kind of just takes his hand,
Don't
blink, blink, blink,
do not
releases his hand and looks down.
let them focus.
I can't add anything either. I just want to make you feel better.
There is a note. If you don't necessarily know where you want to go, you just need to go. You could try unleashing.
Yeah, that's sort of where I'm thinking of. I want to do that. I just don't want to fuck it up. I'm gonna.
Okay.
Don't laugh like that.
All right, I need you. So you are gonna unleash Wayfarer.
Yep.
I need you to spend 2 glamour, declare your intent, and add a point of nightmare to your nightmare rating.
This is fine.
Your intent can be specific, or it can be broad. I'm going to assume that because you don't know exactly where you need to go, you just need to go. Because you're somewhere you don't recognize and you don't have any idea of what the right direction is, that you're just going to say, get us out of here, or something like that.
I was going to say, because based on the rules, I can say, bring me to my goal. Or I can say something like, bring me to Kira. And I don't know how much, it will respond to that. I'm going to
say that bring me to Kira is, I think you would know that that's not specifically going to work.
Probably not.
But bring us to our goal could work. You do want to be specific about your wording, though. Like, you don't want to say bring me to my goal, because then you're running the chance that it's only going to work for you.
I just wind up back in the cuddle puddle. All right. Yeah. So in that case, Georgie heads to a large enough tree that could hold a door, and draws on the in chalk, or in the chalk marker, draws a very large, square kind of shape.
Okay.
And as she does so, recites out loud, "How many miles to Babylon? Can I get there by candlelight? Yes, and back again. If your heels are nimble and light, you may get there by candlelight." And she knocks on the door 3 times and says, and whispers to it, "Bring us to our goal." And it smells like the sea after a storm, and there's a rush of, a distant rush of crashing waves. And truly, Georgie looks like she's just been smacked in the face with water, completely wet again.
Okay. So just to be upfront, you can't bunk on an unleashing.
You can't at all?
Your difficulty is what it is. It is static. That being said, that was very cool. I like that. I would like you to take a point of willpower back for that, because I think that was very impressive.
Oh, thank God.
However, I need you to roll the number of dice equal to your permanent glamour, with your new nightmare die as part of, and also designate your nightmare die. It is a difficulty 7.
I'm gonna fail this so hard. Why?
What'd you get?
2 successes. One of them on the nightmare die.
Okay, that's fine. All right, and how many dots do you have in Wayfair?
3.
Very cool. You succeed, and you are equal to or fewer than the rating of the unleashed art, so it's successful. I would like you to narrate how the unleashing looks and feels. And I have to look something up while you do that.
As you prepare a combat stat block. I love it. Yeah, so as this happens, it's exactly Georgie is used to just doing as many bunks as she can anyway, and it's all stuff that's passed down by her family. So poems and rhymes and all of that come with it. It's just habit. The thing that the rest of the group feels is like being buffeted by a wave and then pulled by that current towards the door that she's making. All you can hear is the rushing of water, and all you can it's in your sinuses. It's in your, you cannot see for a moment just because it is just consuming you. I think for Elodie, who knows Georgie really well and knows Georgie's taste in music, you suddenly realize why Georgie likes metal because it is a wash of sound. And as soon as it, just as fast as it hits you, it is gone, and it makes your ears ring with how quiet it is by comparison. And everything, you feel like you've had the best sinus rinse of your life.
It's wild. Okay. So you all are swept up in the unleashing of Georgie's art. It swirls up and around you. It creates all of these sensations and sounds, and you are all kind of aware and not aware at the same time of the world around you falling away. And for a moment, you all feel like you are swimming. You are diving deep under waves, and the pressure of the ocean around you doesn't seem to bother you. You're not panicked. It feels normal and natural somehow. And when it stops, you find yourselves crawling up out of water onto a beach and looking up at a large, dark castle whose with walls that have been battered and beaten by ocean waves, and also hard whipping winds. It is all still standing. It is all in one piece, but it is almost like these once separate stones have almost been smoothed by time and erosion. So it almost seems to glisten. And you are in front of a gate, and there is strange script-like writing in a language none of you recognize around the arch of above the gate itself. And the lock on the gate doesn't seem to have like a hole that for a key or anything. It almost looks like it was created in such a way that it could, like the two sides of the gate could never open. And you all can feel the raw, intense rush of glamour. Not necessarily from Georgie's unleashing, although that's certainly there. And Georgie, you are aware that you have invoked the weird. But like this place itself feels far more intense in terms of its level of glamour and dream stuff than where you came from. Thank you for listening to District of Dreams, a Changeling the Dreaming actual play by Hallowed Haven Studios. Storytelling for this actual play was provided by Bloodied Porcelain. Sir Crook is played by Bookkeeper. Elodie Blight is played by Hannah Marie. Sigrun Spellman is played by Madame Ava. Rowan Parsons is played by Rob Davies. Georgina Byrne is played by Clara Allison. Our intro music is by Michael Shines. Our art is by Instagram.com/V is for Vampire. And our editing is by Virons.